Hi everybody, Deb Tucker from Studio 180 Design. I'm going to talk to you today about how you go about trimming down Wedge Star blocks that are made with my Wedge Star tool that are too large for the ruler that you may have in your toolbox. Those of you who have the Wedge Star tool, you know that this tool makes Wedge Star blocks from 3-inch sizes all the way up to 24-inch sizes. The block I have here is a 14-inch size block. Now that's a 14-inch finished, meaning that I need to cut it to 14.5. But the largest ruler that I have is only 12.5 inches. So how do I go about doing that? Well, first of all, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to focus on the center block dimension. And you can find that by opening up your set of instructions, going to the chart, finding the size block you're making, and again, I'm making 14-inch. When I look at the column for the center block dimension, it tells me 7.25 inches. That's going to be my focus point when I go to line up my smaller ruler on my bigger block. What I'm going to look at on the tool, again, is the 7.25. Follow down along the diagonal. There are the crosshairs for the 7-inch. What I'm going to look at is that little square down there at the 7.25. I'll be looking at the 7.25 along the edges as well, but that's what I'm going to be looking at when I position the tool on the block. As a right-hander, the corner that I'm going to be trimming is the upper right-hand corner, and this is how I would align the tool to the block. First, my focus is going to be on the long diagonal and that 7.25 inch mark right at the middle. The next thing I'm going to do, if my tool is long enough or my block is small enough, follow that line all the way down to the other end. To make sure that that is lined up and I've got a nice true diagonal, I'm going to follow out and see that my 7.25 inch mark is at both of the star points and adjust if necessary. And at this point, I'd be ready to trim. But now that's right-handed. For left-handers, you're going to look at exactly the same things, but instead of positioning your trimming corner in the upper right-hand corner, you as a left-hander will simply rotate the block so that you can put it in the upper left-hand corner for you to be able to come up and trim left-handed. So let's get this back, get it situated. What I'll do now is basically just trim one corner at a time instead of two long sides at a time. I've checked again my diagonal, my 7.25, my 7.25, my 7.25, right where I want it to be. Trim up from the center of the block this way and then come across to the center of the block this way. Now you can take it a little further if you want to, but usually I just take it that far and then get rid of so that I'm further than the halfway mark on one corner. Get rid of that little bit of excess right there. Now that I have that corner cleaned up, I'll lift the tool, rotate the block, not 180 degrees, but I'm going to simply rotate the block to the next corner. Remove that trash out of the way, but I'm simply trimming these one corner at a time. I'll replace the tool, looking at the same guidelines, the diagonal coming through the point, coming through the center, coming through the other point, the 7.25 at the center, and check again around those outside edges to make sure that the 7.25 inch mark, which is that dimension I'm using for my 14, is exactly right. And then I'm ready to trim that final corner to make my block be exactly the correct cut size, so that when I do all of my stitching, I'm going to get to keep all of my points because they're all 1/4 inch away from the edge, which is the benefit of oversizing and trimming down. And now you don't have to be afraid to make those bigger Wedge Star blocks. If you want to see how you actually construct these blocks, make sure to tune into my other videos. And you know, think about making bigger blocks. Get you a bigger quilt a whole lot faster when they're sizable blocks, but don't be afraid to trim them down with the tools you have in your stash already.